Welcome to Bunny Trails, a whimsical adventure of idioms and other turns of phrase. I'm Dan Pio.
And I'm Shauna Harrison. Each week, we take an idiom or other turn of phrase and try to tell the story from its entry into the English language to how it's used today. Have you ever been in a situation with a friend or loved one where there's some unresolved tension between you? You both know there's something that needs to be said, even if it's uncomfortable. You just need to get everything out in the open, talk it through, and clear the air. According to Cambridge Dictionary, clear the air means, quote, to remove the bad feelings between people, end quote. The phrase didn't start out this way, of course. According to Oxford English Dictionary, clear the air means, quote, to free from clouds, mists, or obscuring elements, now chiefly to purify from the sultry conditions which precede a storm, end quote.
Sultry?
Yeah.
Sultry conditions? Oh my.
Isn't that an interesting, that's a term
Feels
that
romancy.
has shifted in its usage for sure over time. It's been used in different ways. The OED also explains or indicates that this phrase is used figuratively. However, it does not provide a different definition for the figurative usage.
Well, that's all right. Cambridge did to remove the bad feelings between people.
Yes. It's the figurative version, of course, that we are going to be considering today. Historically, the phrase has roots in early literature, starting as far back as the late 1300s. The earliest attestation I was able to find comes from John Wycliffe's Select English Works, published around 1380. Quote, "Then winds of truth should blow away the heresies and clear the airs of Holy Church, that is now full trouble." End quote.
Well, I like the idea of the winds of truth. The winds of truth should blow away the air, the heresies.
Sounds a little bit like a TV show intro or something.
Yeah, I was thinking a video game trailer as well.
Yeah.
Some sort of a new open world thing where you're battling, you are coming back and trying to battle back some bad forces that have taken over the planet, and now you and a small band of your friends are here to slowly take it back.
Ah, I see. Did you ever watch, I was like envisioning kung fu movies. I don't know if you've ever watched like the older, that's what I was thinking of, was like the Winds of Truth. But yeah, I like it.
Like Fists of Fury and Winds of Truth.
Yeah.
That makes it sound like someone that has gas.
Oh, maybe. Another notable usage appears in 1593, which further explores the emotional connotation of clearing the air. This comes from a collection of Elizabethan sonnets from an English gardener. Quote, "Must not grieve my love, whose eyes would read lines of delight whereon her youth might smile. Flowers have a time before they come to seed, and she is young, and now must sport the while. Ah, sport, sweet maid, in season of these years, and learn to gather flowers before they wither. And where the sweetest blossoms first appears, let love and youth conduct thy pleasures thither. Lighten forth smiles, to clear the clouded air, and calm the tempest which my sighs do raise." End quote.
I also like Calm the Tempest, because it made me think of Tempest in a Teapot.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, to clear the clouded air and calm the tempest in the teapot. Wait, that's not what they said. Dang it.
Not exactly. In that work, clear the clouded air is not referring to the physical atmosphere, but instead the emotional state of the speaker. For the next item, I want to touch on a common theory for the idiom clear the air, which is that the phrase's origin is rooted in the literal concept of freshening or purifying the atmosphere, the air we breathe and the air and sky we can see. This theory is based on the fact that in ye olden times, people believed that bad air could lead to illnesses. Continuing through history, the following example from 1670 showcases both literal and figurative interpretations. It comes from a work titled "The Morning Exercise at Cripplegate" by Samuel Annesley. Quote, "Adversity, like winter weather, of great use to kill weeds and vermin, which the summer of prosperity is wont to breed. God is fain to rub hard many times to fetch out the dirt that is ingrained in our nature. This thunder serves to clear the air from infectious vapors." End quote. The phrase clear the air is being used in both a literal and figurative sense here. Literally, it refers to thunder and storms physically clearing the air of infectious vapors, which was a common belief in earlier times regarding the effects of weather on health. Figuratively, it suggests that adversity or hardships, symbolized by the thunder, helps to purify or cleanse one's spirit or nature, much like clearing the air of negative influences or impurities.
I can get behind that. Yeah. I'm just gonna clear out this toxic atmosphere. Although now that I say that, clearing the air is like we do talk about atmosphere too in that same way, don't we?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. So clearing the air of this toxic atmosphere, that's all figurative, but all still plays the same. I'm brilliant.
Brilliant. All right, I have another couple of items that talk about these concepts, and one that likens clearing the air to the revolution.
Wait, like around the Earth as the Earth spins, or
In this
revolutions as in
case,
Dance Revolution? You know the video game.
revolutions as in revolting against the government.
Like guillotines off with their heads.
A little bit. So we're going to talk about those during our behind the scenes video, which is available every Friday on our Patreon at patreon.com/bunnytrailspod. All right, fast forward to 1838, where we see the phrase again applied in a rather dramatic context. This excerpt is from Maumee Express out of Maumee City, Ohio, in the March 3rd, 1838 edition. Quote, "You have heard tell of cotton rags dipped in turpentine, haven't you? How they produce combustion? Well, I guess we have the elements of spontaneous combustion among us, in abundance. When it does break out, if you don't see an eruption of gore worse than Etna lava, then I'm mistaken. There'll be the very devil to pay, that's a fact. And all this shoot, hang, cut, stab, and burn business will sweeten our folks' temper, as raw meat does that of a dog. It fairly makes me sick to think on it. The explosion may clear the air again, and all be tranquil once more. But it's an even chance if it don't leave us the 3 steamboat options, to be blown sky high, to be scalded to death, or drowned." End quote. The phrase 3 steamboat options refers to the inherent dangers of steamboat travel during that era, being blown sky high in an explosion, scalded to death in a boiler accident, or drowned in the event of a steamboat sinking. These were apparently common risks associated with steamboats, which were notorious for their frequent and deadly accidents, particularly the boiler explosions. So, fun times. The Madison Daily Leader, May 15th, 1899, out of Madison, South Dakota, includes the article, "May Clear the Air, Sir Alfred Milner and President Kruger to Talk Over Differences." Quote, "Pretoria, Transvaal Republic, May 15. The Volksraad has given its approval to the meeting of President Kruger and Sir Alfred Milner, Governor of Cape Colony and High Commissioner of South Africa, on neutral ground of Bloemfontein. The points of difference are now being discussed, and the general opinion is that the meeting will clear the air of most of the existing political troubles." End quote. The Daybook out of Chicago, Illinois, August 29th, 1916 edition featured a full-page article titled, "President Before Congress for Help in Avoiding National Railway Strike. Employers and Men Break. Labor Leaders Can't Stop Walkout Order." Here's an excerpt from the article. Quote, "There's going to be a strike, that is certain. Let's have it. It will clear the air. And that's the only thing to do now," one prominent railroad president declared. "It will show the people of the country what is really going on in the industrial world." End quote. That's pretty bold from that from that perspective to say, yeah, let's do it. Just go ahead and strike.
Yeah, I there's a lot of strikes happening now as we record this episode too. So I'm not sure that it does a lot to show the people of the country what's really going on in the industrial world, but maybe it helped back then.
I would say when things are newer, there's one that I'm recalling from last year or the year before, when there were horse worker strikes, and that did bring a lot of attention to a field where a lot of people just didn't know about it. And so I think that maybe it served that purpose if it was not, people were not as familiar with what the job was like.
Right.
The article, Let's Clear the Air, a statement on the subject of post-war international air service, was published in the Evening Star, October 7th, 1943, out of Washington, D.C. The article was written by W.H. Coverdale, president of American Export Airlines, and it ends with a personal statement. Quote, "It is my earnest belief that the United States will get out of post-war aviation just what its government and the public are willing to put into it. Regulated competition, as opposed to monopoly, combined with private ownership and with adequate government and public support, will enable United States aviation to secure for America its rightful share of the air commerce of the world in the post-war period." End quote.
Interesting.
Yeah. As 1943, I thought that was an interesting time frame for that statement to be made. So.
Well, I mean, it makes sense. Air power had been in the last two wars really growing, and definitely something that there was a lot of wartime advances that were made. So it definitely opened up the world that, hey, we need to be able to do more with this. You know, we've got the technology.
Yep. We have several modern uses to cover, and we will get to those right after we say thank you to our sponsors.
This episode is sponsored by our amazing patrons on Patreon. And the cool thing about Patreon is it is 100% free to join the Bunny Trails community. We have new things every weekday on the feeds. On Mondays, we have a conversation about what movies, shows, books, podcasts, and whatever else everyone is enjoying. Tuesdays see early access to the week's podcast. Wednesdays have all the links, books, songs, and other content mentioned in the week's episode. Thursday has patrons-only polls. And Fridays are our lightly edited, behind-the-scenes video featuring all the cut content, goofs, and bonus facts you could imagine.
We've got some other pretty cool stuff too, like original digital artwork once a month made by me, and direct access to talk with us. No algorithms getting in the way of what we see or don't see. Plus, you can get awesome name recognition like Pat Rowe does every episode. And our top spot is currently occupied by the amazing Mary Halsig Lopez. You can join the Bunny Trails community for free at Bunny Trails Pod on Patreon.
That's patreon.com/bunnytrailspod.
Let's Clear the Air in Restaurants is an article that was written by a staff writer and published to Star News Online in 2005. The piece begins, quote, "North Carolina restaurants would be healthier, safer places for employees and customers alike if smoking were banned. It's time it was," end quote. This idea seems older these days, but it's interesting to remember that it wasn't all that long ago that this shift was made from smoking indoors to it being banned in public spaces, at least in much of the United States.
Yeah, I remember when this happened in Kansas, where we both live, and I remember going to a bar one time shortly after this happened, and it smelled like vomit, and I thought, oh no, it doesn't smell like cigarettes now. I mean, you could still smell the cigarettes clearly, but I was like, but now it also smells of other things, and what all was this covering? And then I remember in 2012, 2013, I had stopped in to go to a restaurant when I was in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania, and I walked in and I had to turn around and walk out because this was 2013 and people were still smoking in this restaurant. And it had been so long since I had been in a building where people were smoking inside the building that it hit me really hard and immediately kicked off an asthma attack. And I was like, whoa. And I was just shocked about the fact that in 2013, there were still states that allowed indoor smoking in public places.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it is amazing because I remember at a time, it wasn't that long ago, it feels like to me at least, that was allowed in almost every place. And as George Carlin used to say, having a no smoking section in a restaurant is like having a no peeing section in a pool.
Uncomfortably accurate statement.
That actually was George Carlin's specialty, uncomfortable accuracy.
On a similar note, the National Cancer Institute has a publication that is available online titled Clearing the Air, Quit Smoking Today. And this was published in 2008. Here is the description. Quote, "This booklet can help people reach their final goal of living a smoke-free life. It is designed to support cessation at any stage of a quitter's journey. whether they are still thinking about quitting, have made the decision to quit, or have already taken steps to quit and just need help maintaining their new lifestyle. End quote.
I don't think a quitter's journey is the thing that's going to motivate me to stop smoking. I'd be like, whose journey? I'm not a quitter. No, never mind. I don't quit. Maybe that's maybe that's probably the manliness of my youth that is trying to talk there about, like, you can't be a quitter.
Yeah.
When in reality, there's lots of things I quit. Anytime anything gets too terribly hard, I'm just like, never mind. I didn't want to do it anyway.
Yeah. Shifting to entertainment, let's look at a 2009 stand-up comedy special that incorporates the idiom. Jim Breuer, Let's Clear the Air. Here's a synopsis from Apple TV. Quote, one of the 100 greatest stand-ups of all time, Jim Breuer joins NBC's Saturday Night Live in 1995. Since then, he has gone on to star in several movies, tour the country with his Heavy Metal Man and Family Man comedy tours, and host a daily show on Sirius satellite radio called Breuer Unleashed. You may remember Jim as the infamous Goat Boy from SNL, or his stoner persona from the cult hit Half-Baked. Now he's clearing the air with his concert event chronicling his transformation from childhood to ultimate family man. End quote.
Wow, that's kind of cool. I remember Jim Breuer doing some stand up, but I've never actually sat down and watched Saturday Night Live. I might be the only American in the history to not have watched it. I'm pretty sure George Washington watched it, but it's been going on forever. But yeah, so I didn't know him from that, but I've definitely seen clips and bits, and I've definitely seen some of his stand up, and hopefully he's still a good person. But he seemed pretty cool back then, at least.
Yeah.
It is really hard to say that about any celebrity these days, though, because you just never know who's going to turn out to be.
I don't know.
Oh man, they're secretly a cannibal murderer. Weirdo. Okay. And it's like, whoa, that got out of hand fast.
Yeah. All right, moving to music. The 2010 album In Desolation by Off With Their Heads includes the song Clear the Air. I like this song. It has a good beat and a little bit more of the grunge punk rock feel. I also found an acoustic version, which has totally different vibes, which honestly, that was my pick between the two. I really enjoyed it. The lyrics express things that many people have experienced, and I think they're paired perfectly with the sound of the song. Here's the first stanza. Quote, I wanted to tell you, I wanted to share some important details that you're unaware of. I wanted you to listen. I want you to care. I'll choke to death if I don't clear the air. End quote. Clear the Air has been used as the title for a long list of songs. I found songs in nearly every genre: rap, jazz, rock, alternative, new age, Broadway style, instrumental, easy listening, and Japanese meditation and healing music. There are dozens, possibly over 100 songs listed in Amazon Music alone. So we can't cover all of them, but I do have one more that drew my attention because it really is about the crux of the phrase. Clear the Air is a song by Joe Samba from the 2019 album The Wrong Impression. The artist's website says, quote, Massachusetts-born Joe Samba delivers a unique mix of island-inspired reggae grooves with a gritty rock edge, end quote. This song, Clear the Air, includes some pretty relatable ideas. It discusses the fact that most people run away from issues, building up their anger, and he mentions friends treating one another like enemies. The chorus goes, quote, so let's clear the air to wash our worries away. It takes one conversation. Clear the air, end quote.
That's a message I think most of us can get behind, except it probably doesn't take one conversation. But, it's good. You start with one conversation at a time.
Right. To Clear the Air is a 2017 fiction novel by Mechthild Borman. Here's a synopsis from Amazon Publishing. Quote, life comes to an end, but memory is forever. A moving epitaph for a lost loved one, or the menacing taunt of a vengeful killer. When a man is found brutally murdered in the woods, those words come to haunt the small German village of Märklin, and homicide inspector Peter Bohm faces the daunting task of unraveling a mystery with deep and twisted roots, in a town where doors stay closed, people stay silent, and death may have the final word. But the case is just one more uphill battle for Bohm, who's already grappling with his son's death and a marriage on the edge. When a second grisly murder occurs and the same sinister death notice appears, fear spreads that a killer thirsting for justice will continue to spill bad blood. Now, for Bohm and his team of detectives, the only way forward may be back, decades into the past, where a horrific secret was buried, but will no longer lie silent. End quote.
Bum, bum, bum.
Actually, I thought that was a really good synopsis of I was like, I'm actually intrigued by this, and not like usually I want there to be comedy or something, and this one doesn't really hint at that. But I was like, I'm still interested.
No, I definitely need there to be comedy if I'm gonna deal with death and murder and such.
Fair enough.
Definitely. But he did say death may have the final word, and I was like, but doesn't death always have the final word?
Yeah, I guess. I mean, hey, it depends on what you have on your tombstone, I think.
Maybe. That's a good point. We've heard about on the show some tombstones that have lasted the test of time.
True. So the type of usage that's in that novel is one that has been seen more recently and in some of those later historical ones as well. In this case, clear the air is deeper and it's more severe than discussing an issue that might be smaller or venting emotions. In this case, it's used in a stronger manner to indicate that secrets are being revealed, often related to something unsavory, be it illegal, taboo, or any activity that might lead to some form of ostracizing by the person's community. Let's Clear the Air on COVID by Dr. Alondra Nelson, head of the White House Office of Science and Technology Policy and Deputy Assistant to the President, was published on whitehouse.gov March 23, 2022. The statement begins, quote, "The most common way COVID-19 is transmitted from one person to another is through tiny airborne particles of the virus hanging in indoor air for minutes or hours after an infected person has been there. While there are various strategies for avoiding breathing that air, from remote work to masking, we can and should talk more about how to make indoor environments safer by filtering or cleaning air." End quote.
Man, I'm all for that. I'm all for like cleaner air. Oh, that would be great. Be great for my my sweet baby lungs that just can't seem to filter anything.
Oh, nice. So in this use, this was one of those like classic play on words styles that are common in journalism. They're opening up, sharing the truth on a topic that makes people uncomfortable, and tossing in the pun related to physically cleaning the air, which Dan really likes.
I am a big fan of puns.
And clean air, that's the one.
Also clean air, yeah, that too as well.
No, it turns out.
And rhymes, actually. I'm a simple guy.
The next item is on a more positive note. This is the University of Utah's 2024 You Clear the Air Challenge. Here's a little bit about it. Quote, "We're coming together as one U to improve Utah's air quality and create cleaner, healthier air for everyone. This year, we're taking on this challenge together as a comprehensive research university and innovative academic medical center. The 2024 You Clear the Air Challenge is your opportunity to make climate-conscious travel choices that will improve our air quality and contribute to the overall health and wellness of our communities. The goal is to reduce the number of single-occupant vehicle trips you take and replace them with more sustainable ways to travel, such as using public transit, cycling, walking, carpooling, or telecommuting." End quote.
You know, it's about a mile from my house to the closest grocery store, so that's not too bad, right? And I always think I'm going to walk over there and get some groceries and stuff, but then I start walking, and before I get off of my block, I'm like, I'm not sure that I actually needed the groceries. So then I just turn around and go home. So I don't know that that's a good one for me, but I like the idea of reducing the number of single occupant vehicle trips you take. So I like that idea. I think that's one I can do more and maybe less trying to walk to the grocery store. It's just that it's not that I'm lazy. It's just that I am lazy enough to not want to carry a load of groceries home with me too.
Right.
It's walking to the grocery store without groceries is fine, but walking home from the grocery store is when I'm like, do I really need another gallon of almond milk or whatever? No, I don't. It only comes in half gallon anyway, but I still don't need it.
I'm like, who goes to the grocery store around here anyway, and like only gets a little bit of stuff that they could just carry, in like
Yeah,
this
well,
little
we live in
bag?
Kansas and in the suburbs too. So like most of the time, it's you go to the grocery store once a week, and it's a whole carload worth of stuff.
Right. Yeah. I thought this challenge was kind of cool. They had some prizes for participants and some activities and stuff, but some of the prizes were like an e-bike, and I don't know, it sounded kind of cool. So, yeah.
I also like that in here when they say we're coming together as one U to improve Utah's air quality. The U is just the letter U, as in it's short for university or even potentially Utah. But
Yeah.
so 2024 U, just the letter U, clear the air challenge. So that was also pretty clever coming from a research university, the University of Utah.
There's a lot of you going on.
There is a lot of me going on there. Everything revolves around me, yeah. TM.
I don't know if that's trademarkable.
It's too late. I just did.
Okay. Whether we're addressing personal issues or tackling challenges as a community, clearing the air and making thoughtful choices can lead to healthier, more positive outcomes. Isn't that nice? Okay. The phrase clear the air reminds us that addressing issues head on often leads to a better understanding and peace of mind. Instead of bottling things up, taking a moment to express ourselves can create room for positivity and growth, helping us move forward with a fresh perspective. That's about all we have for today. If you have any thoughts on the show or pop culture references we should have included, reach out to us on Patreon, patreon.com/bunnytrailspod, or comment on our website, bunnytrailspod.com.
All right, it is Patrons Poll time. Recently, we asked our patrons, which of these do you say that probably isn't going to be true? Here are the options. I'm on my way. I'm listening. 5 more minutes. I didn't see your text. I have no idea. And the winner among our patrons is 5 more minutes. JGP said, quote, anytime 5 more minutes is craft related, it is guaranteed to be a lie. I'll fully intend to just get to the most convenient stopping point and then put it down, but that is never what happens. And then it becomes self-perpetuating because when I do remember I was going to finish just this one bit before doing something else, it's usually at a point that isn't a good place to stop at. So I tell myself I will stop as soon as I get to the next good stopping point. But do I remember I was going to stop then? Of course not. And you can guess what will happen as a result, end quote.
I have also found myself in this loop of working until the next stopping point and crossing right over it when I get there. Yeah, I do this with crafts too, JGP. I think I also do this with many other things. I tell myself, I'm just going to answer one more email or just going to read to the end of this chapter. That's probably the worst one. But if I'm honest, I use all of these phrases and not always with the full intent behind them. My kids were talking about this habit of saying certain phrases that we aren't using truthfully, and it isn't out of a negative place. It's just a weird thing we've trained ourselves to do. Like, I sometimes say I'm on the way when I'm leaving my office, but if I haven't left the building yet, I may not actually be on my way. I have to walk out of the building and not get caught by anyone to like chat or ask me that one more question or whatever it may be.
See, I think that that's not necessarily a problem, except you just admitted to also being a 5 more minutes not true person too. So I could definitely see a world in which the I'm on my way, but also 5 more minutes can complicate to being like you text someone that I'm on my way and an hour later you haven't even left yet.
Yeah, it's an issue where really what I've started, I've just tried to stop saying those things because it's not helpful. Like, I'm not even gonna, unless I'm driving, I'm not gonna say I'm on my way, that's my new plan.
That's smart. Are you on your way or are you not even at your car yet?
Yeah, and then it's
I am
almost...
considering walking to my car from my office.
So it's to the point too where sometimes I'll just wait until I get somewhere and then I'll tell somebody I'll be there in 5 minutes when
I'm
really
on my
I'm
way.
just gonna sit
I'm
my
in the
car
driveway.
for 5 minutes.
I'm at your house. I'm already at B-Dubs.
Because anyway. I also say I have no idea with some frequency. I usually mean I have nothing additional to contribute or for some situations that I prefer to not get involved. So I have no idea is more like a default phrase for those moments.
Yeah, I will also say I have no idea, but it's because my brain is not quite processed whatever you just said. But then I process it, so then I do know. And then if I say anything, which I will because I'm me, then I'll be like, oh, wait, no, I do have an idea. And they'll be like, you just said you had no idea. And I'm like, well, I was wrong. But anyway, I do have an idea. So, yeah, but as cunning listeners will know, I talk fast sometimes. So that's just an issue for me sometimes. I'll be like, someone will ask, and I'll be like, I don't know. Wait, I do know. It's like, well, why'd you just say I don't know? I don't know that either. Wait, I do know that too, actually, but it's too hard to explain.
Or if you say what?
What?
And then they start asking the question again, and then you start answering before they're done. And I just am like, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I don't have that problem, and that actually probably is because I'm frequently accused of not having listened to someone. I have a genetic hearing loss, so I'm going to say that is the primary issue of that one, and I will not entertain any questions on the topic. As a reminder, our silly polls mean absolutely nothing and are not scientifically valid, and patrons of all levels, including our free tiers, can take part. Head over to patreon.com/buddytrailspod to take this week's poll. Thanks for joining us. We will talk to you again next week. Until then, remember, words belong to their users.